Hi everyone, trust you all are doing well. So what we're going to do in this one is, you guys remember we set it up our mail class in the previous one. So this one right here with a markdown. What we're going to do now is we're just going to set up our database and hopefully create our notification policy in this one. Right. So under database migrations, you will see we don't have our migration for our notifications yet. All right. So that's what we're going to be doing in this one. Right, so there's a couple of things that we will need inside that notifications database. Right, so let me go quickly to that notification class right here. As you can see, to database right here, I got it open for myself. Right, we need a type, and then we need a reply ID, obviously. And then the next thing that we need is we need this right here. Right, so let's quickly set this up. All right, so open up your terminal. As you can see, I've got my mail class right there. I'm just going to clear everything. Right, we're just going to create that database. All right, so PHP artisan migrate, so make migration. All right, with the migration, we're going to call it create notification. Need to make sure I spell it correctly. Create notifications table, like that. All right, just make sure you spell it correctly. Create notifications table. Right, and then you press enter. As you can see, it got our table right there. So if we go to our database migrations, you will see we got our notification migration right there. Okay, our table is set up. Now the thing is, what we want to do now is we just want to set up the schema. Right, the ID is fine. The next thing that we're going to need, table. This one is going to be a string, and this is going to be for the type. All right, is this type right there. All right, the next thing that we're going to need is we're going to need that notificational type, the ID, okay, replyable ID and all that kind of stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a table, and we're just going to say morphs, okay, and then we're just going to say notifiable. Like that. All right, and then last one that we're going to need is we're going to need a table. This one is going to be text, and obviously the data. All right, so whatever needs to be sent for that notifications table. Okay, and then the next field that we will need is we need to know when the person actually read the notification. All right, so we're just going to create a timestamp, and we're just going to add a field called read at. Okay, so we want to know when the person actually read the notification. So, and then we're just going to set to a nullable field like that. All right, so we got this set up. Now the next thing that we want to do is, let me just close this off. All right, so let's quickly create our notification policy. All right, so open up your terminal, and we're just going to say PHP artisan make, okay, policy, okay, and we're just going to call this one notification policy. All right, so now we've got our policy. I'm just going to open that policy. All right, so we've got our policy open here. So we've got our notification policy. Right, now the thing with this one is, what I want to do is I want to only make sure that a certain person, the authorized user, can actually mark this policy as read. Okay, so I'm just going to create a constant, and I'll call it mark as read. And I'm going to equal that to mark as read. All right, now this mark as read, you see that what nice is with the constant is, if I call on this class right here, we can view this constant, and that constant will basically call the method markers red, which we obviously haven't created yet. So let's quickly create that. I'm just going to delete the construct method right there. All right, so we're going to create a public function as mark as red. Okay. So now when we call this constant, it will call on this method right here. Right, so there's a couple of things that we need to do is we need to bring in the user. Just make sure you bring in the user model right there. Okay, I'm just going to pass in the user like this, and database notification, right? Notification. Let's see if I can bring it in. Illuminate support notifications. Right, so this one right here. Just make sure you import that at the top as well. Database notification, because this is the one we're going to bring in from the database. Okay, notification. So database notification is notification, and this is going to be a boolean, okay, which is going to be either return truth or falsy statement. Truthy or falsy statement. Right, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to return notification notifiable, right? And we want to see if it is this user that we pass through. Right, so basically what this will do is it will just check if the user is trying to mark this post as read, or if it is actually the user, the authorized user that created that is authorized to actually check this notification. I just don't want to confuse you right there. All right, just to make it plainly, all right, it just determines if the given notification, all right, can be marked as read by that user that we're passing through. That's all it does. All right, so we got our policy set up. Obviously, with every policy, we need to go to our providers, AuthProvider, and set it up right there as well. Right, so let's go to our providers, and then we're going to go to our AuthServiceProvider right there, and we're just going to bring in that notification, okay, that policy as well. Right, so we're just going to do the notification class, and it needs to be determined by our notification policy that we just created. Sorry, like that. Right, I can actually add this at the bottom. This one right there. Just make it just visually more appealing for me personally. Right, so we got that all set up. So we set up our policy and we put it in our AuthServiceProvider so that it will actually map the policy as well. Okay, so that's all done. We set up our database, and obviously the last thing that we need to do is actually need to migrate our database. Right, so now you can do is just PHP artisan migrate like that, and press enter. Right, as you can see, we got our notifications right here in our database all set up. So we got our type in notifiable type and notifiable ID, the data, read it and created it. Okay, so we're all done. So what we're going to do in the next one is we need to create that event, all right? The event and the listener. We're probably just only going to create the event for the reply. So as soon as the reply is created, it will create an event, and then we're going to listen for that event as well. So we might do this in 2 separate videos to keep it short, so that if someone wants to come back, they can actually just come back to this part right there. All right? Or we can just do them all in one. All right. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a like. If you don't, please give it a dislike. All right. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.